Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. All Might versus Might Guy. This fight has it all. Great music, great fight animation, iconic characters, major calculation mistakes. It has everything you could possibly ever want in a fight. You know, it kind of reminds me of Thor vs. Raiden, and we all know that was a spectacular matchup. Jokes aside, guys, this is probably one of the worst death battles to happen since Green Lantern vs. Ben 10, and that one is bad for its own reasons, but we won't get into that now. All Might vs. Might Guy is just mathematically wrong, and I can prove it. Hello Internet, Jojo here, and welcome to IdeaShock, where the majority of what I do is explain how things are broken. So Deathbattle obviously had this coming. Now, thanks to the persistent reminders and requests from you guys, we got another Deathbattle breakdown. To be fair, I was actually going to let these videos fade into obscurity, but now I'm back with a newish format, and I really kinda like it. In past breakdowns, I would just present the evidence that Deathbattle gave out in a side-by-side format, but that kinda felt weird to do because my videos are about bringing new information to the table. And in those videos, I didn't add anything new or put any of my own opinions in them. So, I just kind of went along with it. But now, I'm here to rock the boat. I've been watching Deathbattle for a while now, and I've seen them make many mistakes. Like, quite a few. So, from now on, these videos will also talk about those. Because if I see something wrong, I'm gonna call it out.
I can't ignore it. Sometimes I wish I could. No, you don't. No, I don't. Sometimes I want to punch you in your perfect teeth.
Believe me, there's a lot wrong in this fight. Now, as you might have guessed, this fight was just really stupid. The vast difference in power and skill alone made this incredibly one-sided. The very idea that All Might could put up a fight against Might Guy is ridiculous, and you guys know that I love All Might, so I'm not hating on My Hero Academia. Even then, beyond the stupidity of this death battle, there are some fatal flaws in this fight's research that make any mistake I've made in the past look like a kid who dropped his Lego car on the ground, while theirs are the equivalent of 18-wheeler accident on the highway. This video is mostly going to talk about the flaws with All Might's part of the death battle, because that's who I know best. If you were here to hear about Might Guy, sorry, I don't know that much about him. I just got to the part in manga where Orochimaru summoned the first two Hokages to fight the third Hokage. That's the one panel I'm on, so I'm not that far in the series. But even if you are a Naruto fan, you probably want to stick around in case Deathbattle makes mistakes like this again, but on a character you love. That said, let's start out as we always do with power. Might Guy has advantage in power for obvious reasons, despite the fact that Deathbattle drastically overestimated All Might. Now, when I say drastically, I'm talking a couple thousand times more than how strong he actually is, and I'm being generous. They calculate All Might's max power to be 24 gigatons from this feat, where they claim that All Might made this storm. The first issue with this is the fact that they said that the storm clouds stretched all the way to the horizon, but the only manga panel that we get that even looks toward the horizon is blocked by people, so we have no way of knowing if the clouds stretch that far or not. Second, the sky after All Might made this punch is the same color that it is in every other panel in the manga when there are no clouds out. Third, this is the only feat that could have possibly been overestimated in such a way to give All Might this much power, as All Might has done nothing even similar to this before. If you ask me, it looks like they went and analyzed the anime instead of the canon manga, and if you've been around for a while, you know that if I can, I will always default to the manga. Sure, Deathbattle tries to justify this power by comparing him to Gigantomachia, but I don't know what they're using as a ruler in this panel, but it would need to be excruciatingly tiny to justify 2.5 gigatons of energy. That is the same realm of energy as some of the most powerful volcano eruptions. But, for the sake of argument, let's say that Gigantomachia did deal this much energy. It wasn't in one hit, it was most likely over the course of a day, maybe more. And Gigantomachia's main ability makes him stronger and faster the longer he fights, so doing this over the course of a day would be easy as pie. The fourth issue I have with this is that the people around him when he makes his punch say that he made an updraft. So, basically, he punched the rain out of a cloud. Have you ever tried to punch a sponge? Water comes out, but the punch itself did not actually put the water in the sponge or make the sponge itself. It just made the water come out. Okay, so with the theoretical and somewhat anecdotal issues out of the way, let's get to the stuff that I can prove are wrong. The 60 times multiplier. This is an elementary mistake that Deathbattle should have known how to avoid. They use the 60 times multiplier that All Might mentions after his fight with Nomu, but that's wrong. You see, All Might makes this statement several months after he already passed his quirk to Midoriya, and over 10 months after that first punch that Deathbattle is using, but let's get more specific. The day All Might made this tornado, he stated it was 5 years ago when he first began to lose his powers, right? After that, there's a 10-month time skip where Deku does some community service. This brings us to a total of 70 months since All Might fought One for All. Considering that the entrance exams for Japanese schools takes place around January, the school year starts in April and ends in July, we can conclude that at minimum, there are a total of 74 months passed since All Might began to lose his power and the summer training camp arc. Now, in the movie Two Heroes, which is as close to canon as you can get without actually being in the manga, and took place just before the summer training camp arc, we get this chart that shows All Might's power drop over time. By comparing the length of the chart to the 74 months past, we find that this particular punch that Deathbattle calculated to be 24 gigatons took place at this point in this timeline, and that he fought the Nomu here. Using these numbers, we find the multiplier that should have been added to this punch is only 28.66 times. This is a far cry from the 60 times that Deathbattle used. Guys, so far my entire channel has been based around calculating feats and abilities of characters, a lot like Deathbattle does, just more accurate. Though I do plan on branching out and doing other videos later on, but that's not important now. When I calculate a character's power, I don't modify them to fit what I want them to be, or where I think they should be. Deathbattle, on the other hand, purposely modifies their math to make people happy, or, I guess in some cases, less mad. In fact, we will see this even better when we get to speed. All Might should have been way faster than what they gave Guy. In short, what Deathbattle did prove is that even at his most overestimated, All Might would still get slapped by Might Guy in terms of power. Now, we're just going to skip over durability, because in general, to be able to punch someone really hard, you kind of have to be able to withstand the force from it. So for the vast majority of characters, their output is relatively equivalent to the durability. Thus, Might Guy should be near 400 petatons of TNT, and All Might should be near whatever his max output is, which gives Guy the edge in durability. But now, let's talk about speed. Not that speed. The movement type of speed is an interesting thing to discuss. You see, Deathbattle made the same mistake I did by calculating All Might's speed from the USJ, though they did use half a second for some reason, and while this is fast, this is not his max speed. Sure, we haven't actually seen All Might do anything faster, but I don't think it's controversial to say that All Might is the fastest pro hero in My Hero Academia, and is also faster than the students, right? I mean, that's not controversial, we all know this. Because Bakugo has dodged lightning, Aizawa has dodged lightning, and Ida moved too fast for someone who could dodge lightning to react to. So, saying that All Might is as fast as a lightning bolt would not be that far off. But Deathbattle didn't mention that anywhere. I truly hope that they've researched My Hero Academia Vigilantes, which takes place about 2 to 3 years before the main storyline, but it doesn't look like they did. Or they would have clearly seen that he's done nothing near the 24 gigaton range in those early 2 years, which he should have been far more powerful during. Okay, so with All Might covered, let's move on to Might Guy's speed. Now, Deathbattle said that Might Guy was about as fast as Kakashi, and Kakashi can move at about 760,000 meters per second. But if they scale All Might to the leader of a lightning bolt, and then use a proper multiplier on him, then he would be considerably faster than Guy. Guys, you know that calculating feats is kind of my thing, so let's go ahead and do it. The leader of a lightning bolt moves at about 220,000 miles per hour. If they use the incorrect 60 times multiplier, then All Might would max out at about 13.2 million miles per hour. However, if Deathbattle used the correct multiplier that I mentioned before, and All Might should be moving at about 6,300,000 miles per hour. Even at that speed, All Might should still be about 3.7 times faster than Might Guy, which seems like a pretty big thing to miss. The majority of the data I'm using in this video are numbers that Deathbattle has shown us, but if you ask me, it is very likely they are holding back quite a bit. You see, I've noticed that Deathbattle is not the show that presents the most accurate numbers. Deathbattle is a show to find out who would win. As long as the right character wins in the end, they could say that All Might could punch the moon out of orbit and they wouldn't care. As far as I know, the most accurate numbers that they give are going to be the numbers that they calculate for the winner, because more often than not, they underestimate the winner to prove that even at their lowest, they would still win the fight. So, did Deathbattle's mistake lead to the wrong person winning? No. As I mentioned before, my guy still would win this pretty easily, and he's probably even faster than All Might when he unlocks all the gates, so they did get the correct outcome. Even then, I'm pretty perturbed about this. I'm upset at Deathbattle because by not presenting one character how they actually are, they disrespected both characters and the fans. The disrespect to the characters comes from the fact that they inflated All Might's feat, making him something that he is not and giving him power that he never had. The disrespect to my guy was treating this like a good matchup when it was not. The major issue I have is the disrespect to the fans, and they did this by assuming that no one would notice. If you ask me, it seems like their only reason for modifying these feats is to lessen the backlash and make people less mad by making All Might appear to be far stronger than he is, but in the process of doing that, they forgot to actually calculate the feats that mattered.
Well, I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you pestering kids.
That's meddling kids with an M?
Look, I love All Might, I respect Deathbattle, I barely know Might Guy. Saying these things and rocking the boat are way out of my comfort zone. The last thing that I thought I would be doing when 2020 came rolling around was calling Deathbattle out on their mistakes. But, a lot has happened this year, and here we are. Of course, this is not the only time that Deathbattle has been wrong about major feats and calculations. Now, I'm pretty certain there are probably some Deathbattles out there that you don't agree with. And you could be just in your upsetness. In fact, you probably are. So, if you could share this on whatever social media you have, or maybe show this to a friend, and then leave a comment down below on what fight you want me to cover next, that would be fantastic. I mean, the more people that see this video, the more motivation I'm going to have to do another one. Of course, if you don't have social media, I don't blame you.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
In short, if you want more of these videos, then give this as much interaction as you can. Hit the like button, leave a comment. Is that it? Just like, comment, and share? No, there's always 4 things that people say at the end of the video. Subscribe, right. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I knew that. So, with that said guys, I hope you enjoyed this, I hope you learned something, and thanks for watching. See you next time. Remember to stay spectacular. JoJo, out.
I bid you all a very fond farewell. Goodbye.